in our lead stories nationally. St. Kitts Nevis records a second consecutive day that more than 2 cruise ships dock at Port Zante, and 2020 will see the completion of 2 new reservoirs here on Nevis. Regionally, a Dominica Prime Minister names cabinet. Internationally, Trump impeachment, U.S. House ready for historic vote. And in our sporting news segment, West Indies mourn batting legend Butcher dead at 86. We will have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back and on to our national news segment. Following Monday's historic day of 4 cruise vessels being docked at Port Zante and the first 2 cruise vessels, Celebrity Summit and Seabourn Odyssey, to dock at the recently constructed second cruise pier, Symphony of the Seas was one of 3 ships which were docked at Port Zante, St. Kitts on Tuesday, 17th December. Symphony of the Seas is the largest passenger ship in the world. The second cruise pier was completed in November 2019. This is the second consecutive day that more than 2 cruise ships have docked at Port Zante. Additionally, this highlights the impact the second cruise pier is having on the tourism industry. The VON Newsline understands that a 4th ship was docked at Carambola in Freres Bay, St. Kitts. Insensitizing the Nevisian public and by extension residents and citizens of the Federation of plans to improve the water supply here on Nevis, Premier the Honorable Mark Brantley has named a few plans to help remedy the drought situation on the island. Climate change has resulted in warmer temperatures, sea level rise, reduced annual and seasonal rainfall, as well as the occurrence of extreme weather events in the future, such as hurricanes, cyclones, and typhoons. Here is Mr. Brantley.
We have already made significant investments in the physical infrastructure under the recently concluded CDB Water Supply Improvement Project. During the upcoming fiscal year, we will continue to completion the construction of 2 new reservoirs at Hamilton and Pond Hill to boost our water storage capacity. We committed to the drilling of 3 additional wells in the New River area, and we will work assiduously to ensure that this program resumes early in the new year. In this regard, we have been forced to terminate our contract with BEAD, which has failed to deliver on the promised drilling. We shall, however, press on and are currently reviewing bids from other drillers to effect this project.
With regards to climate change, the Premier said that the government must deal with the situation nonetheless.
On this current trend, we are likely to witness the extended periods of drought and the potential for more extreme rainfall and storm systems. These would all negatively impact on our water supply and the overall sustainability of our water resources. We accept that water is life, and so we must respond by continuing to build resilience in our water infrastructure.
That is Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. The Ministry of Health, through the Nevis Island Administration, the NIA, has sought to put measures in place to help eliminate illegal and indiscriminate dumping on the island. Illegal dumping is the illegal deposit of any waste onto land instead of using an authorized method such as an authorized rubbish dump. Junior Minister of Health here on Nevis is the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams.
If we want to maintain a Nevis naturally and a Nevis where we can enjoy and tourists can come and enjoy, we have to take the dumping of refuse seriously. This department received some portable cameras from Social Security. What we are doing, we are placing these portable cameras in strategic areas, the hotspots where persons are now dumping. And I want to say that those persons who are repeat offenders, once we get the information that we are looking for, they will be dealt with the fullest extent of the law.
Minister Brandy Williams also gave this warning to the general public.
We have asked truckers time and time again to take your garbage to the landfill. Some truckers, they are doing a job for somebody. They take their monies, they include in their bill the tipping fee at the landfill, and still they dump their garbage all over in some guts and things like that. We are putting out our cameras, so I'm asking them, I'm telling them, I'm giving them a heads up to beware. The cameras will be there, and once you are captured, the Ministry of Health will do what it has to do in terms of prosecuting, because you have been given enough warning to desist this illegal dumping.
That is Junior Minister of Health here in Nevis, the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. Reports reaching the VON Newsline have revealed that a corpse was found in St. Kitts today, Wednesday, 18th December. Reports say that the corpse was found in the vicinity of Market Street, Bastair, sometime during the afternoon hours. In the public domain, it has been circulating that the remains which were discovered were those of an individual. However, according to the police, the remains were those of an animal. Finally, in our national news segment, a delegation of agriculture experts from the St. Kitts and Nevis and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, visited the Kingdom of Morocco during the period of November 27th to December 13th, 2019. The visit formed part of an effort to strengthen capacities in the critical areas of agronomy, soil fertility mapping, diagnostic laboratory testing, irrigation, and export market development. The group, comprising senior personnel from the Ministries of Agriculture in Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, had the opportunity to exchange knowledge and expertise with Moroccan agriculture officers and scientists. The agriculture delegation visited several fruit and vegetable production sites, processing facilities, and laboratories, in addition to participating in classroom-style sessions led by experts from the Moroccan Ministry of Agriculture. In attendance at the group's graduation ceremony held on Friday, 13th December, was Ambassador Designate to the Kingdom of Morocco, His Excellency Mr. Ian M. Queely, who stated that the occasion was exciting as the OECS continues to explore capacity building opportunities. That concludes our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can visit our social media page on Facebook at Von Radio, and also our YouTube channel at Von Radio for these and other stories. News from across the region comes up next.
Drive in style with your brand new vehicle. Compliments the Bank of Nevis Limited. We are offering 100% financing on all brand new vehicles with a very competitive interest rate. But that's not all. We are giving you up to 7 years to repay. That's right, 7 years. Contact us by phone or come into our branch today. All right. The Bank of Nevis Limited. My bank, your bank, our bank. The Bank of Nevis Limited. Improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook.
Who got the keys to my bimmer?
Welcome back and on to our regional news segment. In news out of Dominica, 13 ministers, 3 ministers of state, and 2 parliamentary secretaries took their oath of service, allegiance, and secrecy on Tuesday when the cabinet of the New Dominica Labour Party, DLP, led by Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, was sworn in at a grand ceremony at Windsor Park Sports Stadium. The Prime Minister had already earlier in the day been appointed as Minister for Finance, Resilience, Economic Affairs, Investment, Planning, Sustainable Development, Telecommunications, and Broadcasting. 2 senators are among the 3 ministers of state who have been appointed. The appointment of 3 parliamentary secretaries completed the 18-member DLP cabinet. News out of the Bahamas. The Bahamas is in line for US $50 million to help it recover from the devastating Hurricane Dorian, which left Grand Bahama and Abaco in shambles when it hit at the beginning of September. The board of directors of the Barbados-based Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, said today that it has appointed an exogenous shock response policy-based loan of US $50 million. CDB President Dr. Warren Smith said, and I quote, "The loan will support the people and the country during the recovery," end quote. As at October 2019, there were 67 confirmed deaths and 282 people still missing. Some 29,500 inhabitants, equivalent to over 40% of the combined population of Abaco and Grand Bahama, suffered severe damage to homes and assets. According to the United Nations, the total value of the damage and loss is equivalent to 25% of gross domestic product (GDP), which exceeds by far the damage and loss equivalent to 4.9% incurred from Hurricane Matthew in 2016. In addition to providing finance for the ongoing recovery, the loan will support the implementation of the comprehensive reform program of the Bahamas that aims to achieve fiscal sustainability and enhance economic and physical resilience to external shocks and natural disasters while bolstering growth and job creation. In more news out of the Bahamas, expert stewardship and draft handling of the post-Hurricane Dorian climate in the Bahamas were just a few of the attributes that landed the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism Director General Joy Jibrilu, the prestigious title of Caribbean Tourism Director of the Year, according to Caribbean Travel Awards. Launched in 2014, the Caribbean Travel Awards are the region's premier celebration of the best travel and tourism. Winners are selected by the Caribbean Journal's editorial staff and network of contributors and based on year-round research and on-the-ground travel experiences and information. Reacting to the announcement, Jibrilu said she was humbled. However, she stressed that the award was not for her alone. Jibrilu was appointed Director General of the Bahama Ministry of Tourism and Aviation in May 2014. The official presentation of her award will be held at the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association Marketplace next January. And finally, in our regional news segment, in a release issued by LEAT on Tuesday, the shareholders and board of directors of LEAT, that is 1974 Limited, announced the retirement of the chairman of the board of directors, Dr. Gene Holder. Dr. Holder notified shareholders of his retirement at the company's annual general meeting AGM held in Antigua on Monday, 16 December 2019. After 16 years as director and chairman of LEAT, he informed the shareholders that he would not be able for nomination as a director of LEAT's board for the next term. Dr. Holder stated that it was fulfilling to perform this role in such a critical regional institution. He thanked the shareholders and customers for their continued support, the employees for their hard work and commitment to continuous improvement, and all other stakeholders who, through their patience, contributed to the ongoing safe operation of LEAT. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, thanked Dr. Holder on behalf of all shareholders for his outstanding contribution in the oversight of the board of directors in some extraordinary difficult times. Prime Minister Gonzalez stated that working with Dr. Holder had enriched him, and he expressed immense gratitude. Through this release, LEAT wished Dr. Holder the very best in his future endeavors and, with the shareholders, joined in thanking him for his long and dedicated service to the company. That concludes our regional news segment. International news comes up next as the VON Major News Package continues. Welcome back and on to our international news segment. Donald Trump is expected to become only the third U.S. president to be impeached by the House of Representatives. Democratic lawmakers are preparing to approve 2 impeachment charges against the Republican president. Mr. Trump would then face a Senate trial next month, but members of his party control that chamber and are unlikely to remove him from office. The president has called the process an attempted coup and a scam, the BBC says. In a 6-page letter to the Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, on the eve of the vote, the 45th President of the United States argued he had been treated worse than those accused of Salem witch trials. Mrs. Pelosi described the letter as really sick. As debate got underway in the House, President Trump was due to fly to Battle Creek, Michigan for a Merry Christmas rally along with Vice President Mike Pence. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo told reporters that he would be happy to testify and produce documents for a Senate trial of Mr. Trump if that's appropriate and required by law. Australia's heat wave is expected to worsen after the country experienced the hottest day on record. The national average temperature reached a high of 40.9 degrees Celsius or 105.6 degrees Fahrenheit on Tuesday, beating the previous record of 40.3 degrees Celsius set in 2013. However, this record could be eclipsed as forecasters have predicted even more intense heat later in the week. It comes amid a drought and bushfire crisis that has spurred criticism of government climate policies. Temperatures are expected to exceed 40 degrees Celsius in parts of Australia until the end of the week. Parts of the state of New South Wales, NSW, of which Sydney is the capital, are forecast to hit temperatures in the mid-40s on Thursday. Adelaide in South Australia is forecast to reach temperatures of 46 degrees Celsius on Saturday. Heat waves are Australia's deadliest natural disaster and have killed thousands more people than bushfires or flood. 16 men, including a police officer, have been charged with historical sex offenses against children aged between 13 and 16. West Yorkshire PC Amjad Dita, also known as Amjad Hussein 35, has been charged with sexual touching. He and 15 other men are charged with offenses against 3 girls in the Halifax area dating from 2006 to 2009. The allegations include several counts of rape, sexual assault, supplying drugs, and trafficking. Mr. Dita, who was attached to West Yorkshire Police's Protective Services operations, was a serving officer at the time of the offense and has been accused of. At the time of the offense, he has been accused of. He has been suspended from duty, the force said. The 16 men, all from Halifax, will appear at Bradford Magistrates Court on January 6, 2020. Finally, in our international news segment, Boeing said Monday it would temporarily suspend production of its globally grounded 737 MAX jets next month as the company struggles to get the beleaguered aircraft back in the air after 2 crashes. However, the company said it currently has no plans to lay off workers as a result. American regulators have said they will not be able to approve the jet's return to service before 2020. Though the jets have been grounded worldwide since March following deadly crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia, Boeing has continued to produce 40 of the planes per month, raising the dilemma was to where to store them. The company said it would continue to pay its workers despite the temporary production stoppage, but the decision immediately raised the questions for the future of part suppliers which contribute to the jet's manufacture. That concludes our international news segment. The latest sporting news comes up next.
TDC retail stores. Stay on our social media pages to see which deals fall each weekend. Shop TDC this holiday season. TDC is Christmas.
Welcome back and onto our sporting news segment. In some cricket news, Basil Butcher was hailed as a West Indies cricket legend after the former Test batsman died aged 86. Butcher was a member of the star-studded West Indies top order for over a decade in a Test career starting in the late 1950s. He played alongside Rohan Kanai and Gary Sobers before they were joined in the side by Clive Lloyd and Roy Fredericks. Guyana right-hander Butcher more than held his own in such distinguished company, scoring 3,104 runs in 44 tests at an average of more than 43, including 700s from 1958 to 1969. Butcher's best performances were reserved for England. He made 133 in the second innings of the Lord's Test in 1963, which produced one of cricket's most dramatic draws. That 100 was all the more remarkable as during an interval he opened a letter which told him his wife had had a miscarriage in Guyana. 3 years later, Butcher compiled his highest Test score of 209 not out against England at Nottingham. That unbeaten double century helped West Indies overhaul the first innings deficit of 90 to win by 139 runs. Cricket West Indies CWI said Butcher had died in Florida on Monday, according to his son Basil Butcher Jr. And in some basketball news, the NBA has issued a statement as it relates to the condition of its commissioner. The following statement has been issued by the NBA, and it reads, and I quote, NBA Commissioner Emeritus David Stern remains in serious condition following emergency service to address a sudden brain hemorrhage on Thursday. He is receiving great care and surrounded by his loved ones. The Stern family and everyone at the NBA appreciate the incredible outpouring of support. Our thoughts and prayers remain with David and his family. End quote. And in some tennis news, Rafael Nadal finished the season on top of the world to give the men's ranking a familiar look, but a new crop of women is showing the old guard can be overthrown. The Spanish world number 1 and Novak Djokovic won 2 Grand Slams each in 2019, holding Father Time and their young rivals at bay for another year. But Ashley Barty, teenager Bianca Andreescu, were 2 new faces on the list of women's major winner as familiar faces slipped from view. Rafael Nadal arrived at the Italian Open in May without a title in 2019. He beat Novak Djokovic in the final and lost just 3 matches in the rest of the season, winning the French Open and the US Open before inspiring Spain to Davis Cup glory on home soil, finishing as world number 1 for a 5th time. With a combined age of 103, Nadal, Djokovic, and Roger Federer, continue to dominate men's tennis, and it takes a brave punter to predict their imminent demise. But there is at last the sense of a credible challenge from an exciting crop of youngsters, including Daniil Medvedev, who pushed Nadal all the way to the US Open final, and ATP Finals winner Stefanos Tsitsipas. And finally, in our sporting news segment, in football news, the Mexican Football Federation on Tuesday sanctioned 4 youth players of Club America for making fun of and being disrespectful of the viral feminist anthem against sexual violence, "The Rapist Is You." A video of the footballers dancing half naked in a locker room parodying the choreography of the song by the Chilean feminist collective Las Tesis has led to demonstrations and an outcry on social networks. "The Rapist Is You" also known as The Rapist Is Your Path, was first performed in Chile in November, and since then the lyrics and choreography of the routine have been rapidly adopted around the world, with videos of flash mob performances going viral. The 4 under-17 players of professional side Club America were sentenced to a match suspension and an unspecified fine, the federation's disciplinary committee said in a statement. According to the federation, the video violated its code of ethics on respecting people's dignity and refraining from discriminatory acts and on use of social media. One of the 4 has published an apology to the general public and the women of Mexico. That concludes our sporting news segment. The latest weather forecast comes up next. And your weather forecast for today reads: a surface high pressure will continue to generate a moderate to fresh trade wind flow across the area. The winds will continue to create hazardous seas, mainly on the eastern sides of the islands. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers overnight. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. The winds are east at 22 to 33 kilometers per hour, or 12 to 18 knots, or slight, and gusting higher in showers. Seas 1.8 to 2.4 meters, or 6 to 8 feet. A small craft advisory remains in effect mainly on the eastern sides of the island. Sunrise for tomorrow will be at 6:34 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 18th December 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis records the second consecutive day that more than 2 cruise ships dock at Port Zante, and 2020 will see the completion of 2 new reservoirs here on Nevis. Regionally, a Dominican Prime Minister names cabinet. Internationally, Trump impeachment, U.S. House ready for historic vote. And in our sporting news segment, West Indies mourn batting legend Butcher, dead at 86. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Marvin Ross, and I'm wishing you a pleasant evening.